Jay, how are you?
If I were any better, Matt, I would be my Secretary of Homeland Security.
Miss Olivia?
She is so excited right now because she knows I'm going to be talking to you.
Well, and this is a new little adventure that we've got going because you and I are now official on Super Talk TV. And,
nice.
And I have the ugly filter. You've got the pretty filter.
I got the old filter.
We give that pretty filter.
Hey, Chris, take that filter off that makes me look 20 years older.
I'll work on that.
So for those who have always wanted to see Jay and I on Super Talk TV, we've launched that now that we're in the afternoon hours. And you sound great. You look great. And I hope your Christmas went well, my friend.
Oh, it was great. It was absolutely great. My grandkids are now 9 and 5, Matt, which is just perfect Christmas ages.
That's the zone, man.
Yeah. No, so it's good. I'm in a really good place right now, man. You know that. What
was the favored Christmas present in the St. Clair household for the youngsters? Did they have a favorite, or did they just like them all?
Well, they get a lot, so it's hard to pick. But the one I was most interested in were the pogo sticks.
Pogo sticks.
What do you think the chances are that I tried to ride a pogo
stick? Here's what I would say. You getting close to a pogo stick would be very similar to you getting close to the edge of the Hoover Dam.
That's exactly right. Yeah, no, that's exactly right.
Have you ever heard of gasoline-powered pogo sticks?
No, I haven't.
So my father-in-law told me about this years ago. Bob said that they existed. They were one-cylinder pogo sticks that you would bounce on, and it would piston it down, and it would spark when it came back up. And much like lawn darts, that just doesn't seem like a very good idea.
Oh, that's funny. My best friend growing up rode a unicycle to school.
What?
Yeah, he rode a unicycle to school.
I don't understand those people. I don't understand people that have good balance, Jay. I just don't.
Well, I don't.
No, that's why I befriend people who are like me, who, if they don't mind their P's and Q's, they tump over. I'm like that. Well, a lot to discuss, and I feel like this is something that you might have a little background on, considering something that you told me when we were discussing the show today, H-1B visas.
Right.
Jay, what are H-1B visas? Let's start right there.
Yeah, so the work visa, if when you come into the country and you're not a citizen, then I think for any reason you have to have a visa. And those visas allow you to do different things. The highest thing you can do is work. And not many visas allow you to work. So these are visas that allow you to work for a temporary period of time. Mm-hmm. I think the initial period is 3 years, and they can be extended for another 3 years, up to 6 years. But not just anybody can get these visas, man. They have to have, number one, at least a college degree. And number two, they have to have some proficiency in a profession. Can't be a dish diggers don't get HB1 visas. Mm-hmm. And so that's what the person coming in has to bring. But then the company that's bringing them in, they have to show that they can't get a U.S. citizen to do this job. And they have to also show that bringing in this foreign national to do this job temporarily will not cause any harm to any U.S. citizens. And they also have to show that they're going to pay them the market rate for this job. I mean, that's the way it's all set up on paper.
Okay.
So it's a temporary work visa for sort of, I don't know if I'd say highly skilled, but for professional people. Not manual labor.
So at least on paper, and this is a good place to start, because at least on paper, H-1B visas, there are some fail-safes to design the program in a way that prevents it from hiring foreign workers at the exclusion of American workers, if I'm hearing you correctly.
No, that's exactly right. That's the way it's designed on paper.
Now, do you believe that it works that way in practice?
Not all the time. Absolutely not. Nothing's perfect. And particularly nothing that's run by the government is perfect. And are there companies that take advantage of it? Absolutely. Just like there are the tax code or any other, provision of law. So I'm sure it's being taken advantage of and is hurting some U.S. citizens. Nothing's perfect, man.
But the idea is to bring in, maybe, I don't want to overstate it by saying the best and the brightest, but to bring in.
Well, that's a good place to start. I'll tell you, I'll give you two perfect examples for HB1 visas.
Okay.
Perfect example. Warner von Braun.
You know
who that is?
How long have we been friends?
You probably knew that was what I was going to say.
Well, I used it as an example an hour ago.
Oh, yeah, we've been around each other a long time.
A long time. But talk about, because you lived up there in Huntsville. You know a lot more about Warner von Braun than I do.
Oh, yeah, no, I can tell you the whole story about it. But, he had knowledge about rockets that no one in the United States had. He knew more about it than anybody in the United States. There's this great story where, at the end, he escaped, came across enemy lines and surrendered. And he said to the U.S., so we're rocket scientists. And they all laughed and said, yeah, right. And so they brought him over here, and I think they sent him out to Stanford, to our best and brightest space people. They were going to prove that this guy didn't know what he was talking about. And after about 3 days, they came out and said, this guy's a rocket scientist.
Right.
And so he is a perfect example for an HB1 visa. And I'll tell you another person, a perfect example for an HB1 visa. Elon Musk.
Well, there you go. Right.
Well, I now have a third one.
Okay.
And this is for a little different reasons, but I still think this qualifies. Melania Trump.
Oh, wow.
Although she might be an O1 visa. That's for entertainers. But I'd put her really kind of in that same category. So, yeah, it's for, you don't have to be at that super high level, but it's not agricultural jobs. It's not menial labor jobs. It's not migrant workers. There's a different visa for that, different set of rules that apply for that. This is for skilled professionals.
And I read this morning that the amounts that we're talking about are not necessarily, relatively speaking, that great. We're talking...
Right. I think right now, though, the annual limit's $65,000.
Okay, so annually you can have H-1B visas, 65,000 H-1B visas for highly skilled or skilled workers,
right,
to immigrate to the United States. But that doesn't give them permanent residency, correct?
No, it's temporary work visa. Initially, it's good for 3 years, man, and then it can be extended, I think, for another 3 years for a maximum of 6 years.
And so the argument that we're hearing, and I understand there's a lot of different opinions on this, but I think some of the opinions on this may be coming out of a place of ignorance, and I'm not saying a place of stupidity, legitimate ignorance, that, right, people aren't aware of this stuff. Like, you just taught me something, Jay. I was not aware of some of the rules involved in the H-1B visa program. So it occurs to me that education is key when understanding why we would allow this program to continue, because a lot of people don't want it. A lot of people say, shut it down.
Right. Yeah, no, that's right. But it is very complicated. It's very nuanced, and it's easy to have uninformed opinions.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you understand it a lot, and I would say I understand quite a lot of it. I don't understand all of it. And there's this, man. There's a big difference between what it looks like on paper and what it looks like in the real world.
Well, and that, and it's kind of where the rubber meets the road. You and I have talked about this, broadening the conversation out to immigration policy generally. I want to do this in a minute because you've educated me a lot on what the immigration law says in terms of what employers can and cannot do, what they can and cannot ask, what they're allowed to require and what they're not allowed to require when it comes to hiring people, and the idea that they have to take people at their word, or at least the documents that they present to them at their word, and can't really go down the road of becoming law enforcement when it comes to some of this stuff. A lot of questions coming in regarding our conversation with H-1Bs, and I want to get through those. And then if you have any other questions regarding anything in the law, Jay's here for you, 615-737-9986. Get him in on the super text line or on the phone lines. So how is the program abused is a question that I'm getting in a lot of different varieties. I would expect that just like anything else, people find loopholes or just they don't follow the letter of the law. Is that fair?
Yeah, no, that's fair. And let me be a little bit more specific than that. In explaining the job, the company has to submit paperwork to the government to get it approved. And the job has to be sort of high level, highly skilled, and so forth. Companies can overstate the complexity of the job. They can just lie. Mm-hmm. They can also lie about whether they are not able to fill the jobs with U.S. citizens. They can just lie, man. I mean, it's breaking the law. It's illegal. But you were going a little too fast this week yourself.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes you.
So it happens.
Sometimes you break the law.
Yeah, sometimes you break the law, and I'd say that's probably the main ways the law is not enforced as written.
So, where do you see? I mean, do you see a value in your line of work? And for those who don't know or are unfamiliar, I mean, this is Jay's wheelhouse. He is an employment attorney and the finest one in the nation, in my opinion. Is there a need for H-1B visas in America?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm weird about words. I don't know that I would use the word need, but I would say there is a purpose for it.
Okay.
This serves a good purpose. We are better off having work visas for highly talented people to come into the country than we would be if they weren't. We wouldn't have Elon Musk here. We wouldn't have Werner von Braun. So yeah, there is a purpose. There is a good purpose behind this law, and I thought Elon Musk said it just right, and I just don't see how anybody could disagree with this. That he's saying, look, we want the top 1/10 of the 1% of the people. That's who he's talking about,
right?
And it's so ironic to me, man. He comes at this with more perspective than probably anybody. I bet you he came to the U.S. on an HB-1 visa.
Right.
He is an immigrant, and he's at that high level. And so that's what he's saying is we want these people. So yeah, there is a salutary purpose in allowing these kinds of visas. It is not where it goes awry, is particularly in the tech industry. Well, I'll give you a perfect example. I was involved in a case. It was a very highly publicized case. I sent you some news articles about it. I won't mention the name of the company out of respect for them. But it ended up with a $34 million fine. Nobody went to prison, but it was a big deal. And the allegation there is that the laws were being fudged and that people were coming in and the jobs they were doing was computer jobs. So this is where most of this activity is taking place, man. It's on coders. Mm-hmm. It's very low-level computer jobs that takes tens of thousands of people. I mean, it's very labor-intensive. So that's where the real issues are. I have another client. They're based here in Birmingham, and they, I'm respectful of my clients. I don't mention them, but you might have had one of these companies' products with a smile. And so it's a very first-rate company in all respects. Well, they needed an IT person, just one, not 100, not 1,000, not 10,000, just one. But they needed some very specific skills. They could not find anyone, any U.S. citizen with those skills that was willing to take that job. And so they actually went through the hurdles to get an HB1 person in to do just that one job. And I think in that situation, that was a salutary use of that law. But where the real controversy exists are the tech companies that are hiring thousands of people, Matt, to do very low-level jobs, coders, and they pay them not a lot of money. So by U.S. standards.
Is there a way to challenge them in terms of, you mentioned right at the beginning of the conversation that they're required to pay them a rate of pay that would be equitable to an American worker?
That's right. Market rates. They have to submit data when they apply to have these jobs approved. It says, we've done a wage survey, and here's what these jobs are paying in this community, and we're going to pay the market rate for these jobs.
So it would seem to me a good option would be, instead of, considering eliminating some of these H-1B visas, would be to go after those individuals that are aggressively, perhaps, not even aggressively.
Just enforce
the law. Right.
Enforce the law as written. That's right.
Jay, a couple of comments on the H-1B. I mean, obviously, there are some that are very frustrated, and they are suggesting that Elon himself has been exposed as to one of the individuals, as we discussed, that is abusing the system, saying that he's using this to fill out his ranks at the X corporation without regard for the demand that he tries to get Americans first. I imagine that he would take exception with that, but the bottom line is, if he's being accused of abusing the system, I would expect that some people could. What would be the process there, to file a lawsuit against him?
I'm sorry, Matt. Some cut out.
No, it's all good. So there are some that are listening to us have this discussion that are very angry at Elon. And they're angry at Elon because they say that he himself is one of the violators of the H-1B system. That he is using that system to hire people from foreign countries to work at the X corporation without regard for looking for American workers. So my question is, I mean, I don't know how much truth there is. We would have to do some research on it. But for those people that are very angry and frustrated, what would you do? Would you, who would file suit? I mean, how would one, if it's Elon or anyone else that's accused of abuse of the system, who would go after them? What entity?
Well, it would be the Department of Labor, and I would say this about that. Of course, I don't know. I don't have any personal knowledge about that at all, man. Mm-hmm. But on the current administration, the Biden administration has about...
Oh, we thought the Zoom was so good until it's not. Then we lost it. I think we lost Jay there.
Agencies of the Department of Labor. And I would be shocked if there was widespread abuse of visa systems in any of his companies and the Biden administration had not gone after him for that. I don't have any personal knowledge about his compliance with the law or not, but I understand how politics works.
No, this is a great point that you just made. So for those that are suggesting that Elon has taken the position that he's taken because he's abusing the system, then look, it's a great point. Why in the world, as much as the Biden administration clearly hates Elon Musk, he put all of his eggs in the Trump basket. He went there. He bought X. They wanted, all of these things that he did. Why wouldn't the Biden administration, through the Department of Labor, go after him for violating the proper practices of the H-1B program?
Well, trust me, they haven't held back the Security and Exchange Commission has been all over him. The Department of Labor has been all over him. The space people have been all. Did you hear him tell the story, Matt, about how they had to satisfy the feds that when his rockets landed, they would not kill a whale or a shark?
What? I haven't heard that. I haven't heard this story. Uh-oh. What?
It is the most incredible story. Before they...
Well, for those who can't hear this story, this is the most fascinating. Jay, are you there? Well, I mean,
it's cutting in and out.
Yeah, well, it's our first experience with Zoom. We got to break a few eggs before we make that omelet. But you're back in. So no, tell me the story. So he had to prove that he wasn't going to kill a whale. What?
No, this is you got to find this and play because it's hilarious. But yeah, they first said to him, well, before you can do this, you got to prove to us that you're not going to kill a whale. And he said, well, okay, give me the whale data. I don't know how many. I don't know where the whales are, how many there are. Give me the data. And they said, well, we can't do that because we don't trust the people that have it. And so he had to go around and around on all this, man. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I got you. Perfect.
Okay. And so they got the data and they did all that. And then he showed him. He says, we think the whales are pretty safe. And so then they said, okay, well, what about the sharks? Is there a chance that one of your rockets is going to land on a shark? And he said, well, it's a big ocean. you got to hear him tell the story. He said, it's a big ocean, and there's, it could land anywhere. But I just got to be honest with you, Mr. Fed. If one of our rockets hits a shark and kills him, well, it was his day.
Mm-hmm.
That was meant to be.
I think I was going to say, I think I've got it. I think I've got it. We'll play it for him in just a minute. It's about 2 minutes and 40 seconds.
It's hilarious. It is hilarious. Absolutely. And so you listen to that, Matt, and then you think to yourself, if there is widespread visa abuse in any of his companies, do you think the Biden administration would have turned their head, turned a blind eye to that? The answer is a resounding no.
Well, I mean, and 5718, who's all over this story and very, very angry at Elon Musk, saying that Elon Musk has been exposed, is completely full of bleep, couldn't fill any of these jobs at X with Americans, utter nonsense that they're bringing these people in for cheap labor. But every labor position that you posted is $145,000 plus, Mr. Caller, Mr. Texter. So I don't... That doesn't seem like cheap labor to me, but the texter is saying that $145,000 in San Francisco is not a livable wage. So, I mean, look, if you believe that Elon Musk is our biggest problem in America, I would suggest to you that we are sunk as a nation. I mean, honestly, I don't know what else to tell you. If you think this is the biggest issue, then I don't know what to say to you. All right, a couple of go ahead.
I would just say this again, Matt. If he is cheating on visas, I have no personal knowledge about it at all, but I know this. If there was widespread cheating in any of his companies about visas, the Fed, he would be in jail right now. They hate him. But he's probably what pushed Trump across the finish line.
No, I don't have any question about that.
He would be in jail right now.
Unrelated to the subject of the H-1B visas, let's get you a couple of questions. For Jay, if my name is on my mom's checking account and someone sues her, for example, a car accident, and she's at fault, can they also sue me?
Well, Chris,
Yes.
He's asking, can somebody sue him? What does it take to file a lawsuit, Chris?
Something like $5 and a ham sandwich or something like that. I don't know.
$400 and a crayon, and that's going to be the name of our podcast.
Yeah, Jay and I are going to start a podcast, and we're going to call it $400 and a crayon.
$400 and a crayon.
Yeah, nice.
So you're really not asking me whether they can sue you. The answer is yeah, they can sue you. You're asking, do they have any claim against you? Now, the only quote claim they have against you is they could go try to get the money in the bank account where you're jointly owned, right? And then you could say, well, you're only entitled half of it. It depends on whether if it's joint ownership or right of survivorship, or if you've got it set up separately. But they cannot sue you for everything you got. The only thing they could try to get to is that bank account.
David is next up with a thought on immigration law. David, you're on with Jay St. Clair. Go right ahead, sir.
Yeah, thanks for taking my call. I enjoy the show, and Jay, I enjoy hearing you occasionally. My question is the H-1B, I believe they call it. How can we, more or less, how is it more specifically written, and how can we enforce such a broad gray area? That's what it sounded like to me. And I'll just hang up and look for your response.
Yeah, thank you, David.
Great question, David. And actually, Trump has already come up with an idea. He did this during his last administration, man. They had a technical problem with the person who didn't have the authority to do it. But I think he'll reinstitute this because right now, these 65,000 visas, they're really kind of doled out randomly for different industries, different states. So they're not necessarily trying to get the best and the brightest people to fill those limited jobs. And so here's the idea, and I think it's brilliant. They're going to hand them out based on the salary being offered for each person. So, the people who are being offered a job for $200,000, they come to the front of the line. That's brilliant because that's not a fake job, and they're not being paid below market rate. And it creates an incentive for companies that truly need foreign nationals to fill jobs that they can't get in the U.S. to pay a really good wage. So, Frank, I just think that idea is brilliant. Let the marketplace deal with it. Governments are terrible at writing regulations, but just let the marketplaces deal with it. We're going to say, hey, the people who are willing to pay the most to fill these jobs are the ones that are going to get the jobs filled.
Well,
that cuts out the cheat. That cuts out the cheating.
Right. And I would agree with that. And if there are repairs that need to be made in the system, I would agree completely. Let's see some of those repairs made. But I don't think that was what Elon Musk was arguing, that we need to keep some form of the system. I don't think he was arguing, and I'm not here to speak for him or defend him, but I don't think he was arguing that there aren't abuses, and maybe he's guilty of some of those abuses. But if we need to shore up the system to make sure that it is doing what it was designed to do, and their protections are doing what they're designed to do, then I don't have any problem with that.
And I'm sure he doesn't either, man. Look, I mean, here's the deal. Well, let's just put it down there where the goats can get to it. The federal government is good, really only good at two things. Two things, Chris, is the only thing they're really good at. Mm-hmm. Taking your money and killing people.
That's right.
That's the only two things they really do well. They don't really do anything else very well. And so I'm sure that this visa thing is being run about like the Department of Motor Vehicles or the post office.
Just as long as you don't talk bad about the Metro Nashville Police Department today, Jay, I won't put up with that.
I wouldn't throw you under that bus.
Ask Jay if a lawyer owes me money and he's not refunded my attorney payment, what I can do to get my money back. He owes me $2,700. I need some help, says 4176.
First thing to do is call the state bar. Absolutely call the state bar. That's exactly what they're there for. Or I'm assuming you're in Tennessee. Call the Tennessee State Bar. Tell them what you're calling about. They will put you in touch with the right people. And I bet they get that problem fixed. That's what they're there for. That's one of the many reasons they're there. Call the Tennessee State Bar. You can find them on their website, and I bet you they'll fix your problem.
Final question for Jay. Hello, Matt. Question for Jay. My son is a photographer and a videographer, and a lot of my neighbors would like for him to go to their house and make a video of their possessions and put it on a disc or whatever you do for them to save. And he is afraid. What if they get robbed? Would they come after him? So he doesn't want anything to do with it. Is his fear legitimate, or is there some sort of paperwork he could fill out to protect himself? So
I'm not really understanding what the fear is there. That's a very common thing to do. Everybody's kind of advised to do that on their own. I never really thought about having a professional come in and do it. I can't imagine why he would have any liability. So I don't see the basis for that fear. The only thing I can think of maybe is that somebody says, well, you didn't take a picture of my aunt's brooch. Mm-hmm. You were negligent in what you took pictures of. That's such a long shot. I wouldn't worry about it. But yeah, he could draft up a simple little release. I don't know if he's going to charge for this or not, or even if he is, he could draft up a simple little release. Mm-hmm. And if you're really interested in that, find me on the internet. I can't hide. I'm right there. It's Jay St Clair. I'm more of a sinner than a saint, but it's St Clair, ST period. And I'd be happy to draft something up for you.